Well,
Probably a
guys, it's
mistake.
2 o'clock. So we're going to dive into this topic. We're going to meet the remote advisor, and we have a great panel today. I'm Craig O'Neill. I'll be hosting this panel discussion. With me today is Chris Cloutier, Chris Cotton, and Colin Watson. Guys, go ahead and introduce yourself. I want you to just tell us a little bit about who you are, why you're on the panel. Colin, we're going to start with you.
Oh, great. Start with me.
Yeah.
My name is Colin Watson. I'm a service advisor at Golden Rule Auto Care. Started with Chris 11 years ago there. We started up, took over an existing business, turned it into what it is with obviously Chris and his brother Pat's driving force. We took a shop that was down in the dumps and built it up to what it is now. And kind of been one of the testers for AutoText for years as well.
Nice. Well, that's a good segue for Chris Cloutier.
Yes.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Craig. Chris Cloutier, own AutoText and own 2 auto repair shops, Golden Rule Auto Care in Dallas, Texas. I'm glad to be a part of this panel. Exciting topic to talk about, remote service advising. As you know, Craig, I like to talk technology, and especially when it's scary. So I think this is one of those topics that's scary, but I think we're going to have a lot of good information for a lot of people in this topic. So, and then thank you, Chris Cotton, for joining us. This is awesome.
Hey, no problem. So, Coach Chris Cotton here from AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching. It is scary, but mainly because we're all older, right? And we're scared of something new. But there were a lot of lessons from COVID, and I really think that this lesson really got pushed forward because of COVID. And all the technology that's coming out, what AutoText Me is doing, what I'm doing with Service Up, is just really amazing. And I started remote coaching 10 years ago, and I still have people that don't know what I do and don't understand it. So we got to talk about it. We got to get in forums like this and be like, hey, this is what we're doing. And so I'm here to normalize 280 pounds, and I'm here to normalize the remote service advisor.
Awesome. I just want to comment on that. I mean, you're absolutely right. As we get older, I find myself yelling at the neighborhood kids, tell them to get off my damn lawn. So yes. We don't like change or people on our yards.
Right.
Well, Colin, now that you're home, you can see if there's kids on your lawn.
True. My dog will alert me. And
What I'd like to
video
know,
presentation at that time.
Yeah. What I'd like to know, and what I'd like our audience to hear from you on, is what prompted this move part-time from the Golden Rule Auto Care counter to, well, essentially your kitchen counter, your home office.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great question. So, I'm married, I got kids, and my wife's a very career-driven individual. She's in the healthcare industry. Well, she finally moved into the executive side of the world where her job was more demanding of her hours. She didn't quite have as much free time to pick up kids, drop kids off as she used to do. That used to be her role for the first 10 years or so. It was always her taking care of that, and I was always focused at work. Well, she got in a position where that was her focus had to be at work. Therefore, mine had to go back to the family. And that's when I approached Chris and go, hey, here's my life situation's kind of changed here. I've got to kind of reduce some hours. Obviously I've been here since the beginning. I don't want to leave, but I've got to do something. And here's kind of my parameters and, kind of the roadblock or speed bump that I've kind of come across here. And then that's when we kind of brainstormed and Chris kind of pitched this and voila, here we are.
Now, Chris Cloutier, you've had the idea of a remote advisor for a while anyway. This sort of pushed your hand a little sooner than expected?
Yeah, Craig. So in Texas, believe it or not, every once in a while we get ice and snowstorms. When they do happen, they shut down the city dramatically. But they also, we're not equipped for ice and snow. So in the past, we've tried to do this when we could get some techs in, and some people have gone in, some people can't. We can make it optional when people can make it in. So we've tried to do this remote service advising. And then at this point in time, when Colin came to me, I said, this is our chance to try something that I've always wanted to do. It's hard for me. It was hard for me as an owner because when somebody starts working from home, that everybody else is going to go, well, what about me? Why can't I work at home? So this has given us, it's kind of a good situation, a bad situation, because our hand was kind of forced. Of course, we could have had Colin part-time, but this allows him to go home, us to totally try this model, to leverage his experience, and then also to allow him to, be at home when his kids come in. So I think it's kind of the best of both worlds versus us still trying to get him to come in and drive. So far it's working really well. I would say it's working swimmingly well. Yes.
So Chris Cotton, now we've heard from a long-term employee, we've heard from an owner, and how they had to come to an arrangement to make something work. Long-term employee doesn't want to leave. Owner, at least this one anyway, is mindful of the future and open to change. Is this something you've seen a lot of other shop owners open to, or do they end up losing a staffer?
I am seeing that, and I'm glad that they were able to work it out, because who wants to lose somebody with that much experience just because of a life change situation? Mm-hmm. So my guess is Colin probably thinks a little bit more of Golden Rule Auto, because they were able to mold and adapt and move forward. A lot of what we're seeing is shops that are too busy. And let's face it, right? Like auto repair shop owners have a poor track record of training people and putting them in the best spot to succeed, both for the business and themselves and the customer, right? Like, so they'll hire somebody, be like, there's the phone, there's your stuff, good luck. I got stuff to do, or I'm hitting the golf course or whatever. And so with the amount of business that everybody's seeing now, some people have outgrown their shops, or, you know, if we're talking about car count and being able to handle the car count and then the call volume and social media, some people don't have a place to put those people. So we're seeing people run out of space, and they're like, well, what do we do? You know, do we let this happen? Do we do this? And that's kind of where we come up with Service Up. As part of our model is we do that for you, and then help you with that. But there's all kinds of, you know, instances where this could work.
Well, let me add too, Craig. I mean, this isn't a surprise. We're still having problems finding people and good people. Yeah. You know, there's still a crunch in our market. I'm a part of many different owners groups, and in one of them, somebody stated that, man, I never had a problem before finding somebody for the counter, and now I'm struggling to find people for the counter. And Chris, I'm sure you know this, as you work with service advisors, to train a good service advisor who has the depth of knowledge to be able to price out the ticket, the job, and the labor, it's not 3 months. It's not 6 months. So you're absolutely right. Colin has 11 years of building tickets and this ability. He knows the parts, he knows the add-ons, he knows so just the training alone to get that person, once you get that person, takes a long time to get that experience and that understanding inside of them.
Yeah, and if I can interject there, so a great example of what you're talking about is Chris's brother, Patrick's the master tech that started the shop with Chris. And I was about a year and a half in. I thought I was pretty good, right? Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I can talk to customers. I can sell jobs. I know how to get parts. All good.
We're all that way.
And Pat came to me, and Pat goes, dude, it takes 5 to 10 years to make a service advisor a good service writer.
Yep.
I was pissed. I was offended. I was butthurt. I was mad because I thought I was good. Mm-hmm. Now at 11 years in, 100% it takes 5 to 10 years. There's so much knowledge that you have to gain on this side. Technicians respect. I mean, you know, I've gone to where I pushed myself to make sure I wasn't just service advisor, that I go out there and diagnose cars. I have the ASC certifications. I have the knowledge. So when I was talking to a customer, I could explain that to them and really make them understand that. But a year and a half in, no. I was a phone answerer and a parts guy. I was not a service advisor. I thought I was, but I was not.
What I like, how I like to say that is, you're a blue belt in a room full of black belts, right? Like, you know, just enough to get your ass kicked at that point. And that's
it. Beautiful. That's a great analogy.
Look good in the uniform, right?
Yeah. Like, who are you going to go up to and be like, oh, I'm going to conquer you today? Like, no, like, sit down, kid. It's not going to happen. Yeah. It's amazing. And I think that's great. Like, realizing that is a big part of, and then too, you know, it's always learning. It's always growing. One of the good things that we've been able to do is it's been easy, quote unquote, to find remote service advisors. Like, I could throw up a remote service advisor ad today and probably get 130 applicants. Versus if I was in, Bowie, Texas, looking for a service advisor, I could probably get 20 people to apply, but 2 of them might be kind of qualified, like they might start, but actually to come in and do a good job, if we're talking about somebody that needs to come in and hit the ground running, and you can be a little bit more picky that way if you're able to open it up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And having somebody at the counter, like Colin said, so this opens up the possibility for the CSR, which, you know, this term gets kicked around a lot, right? This customer service representative that you can have that is great at answering phones. They're great at taking orders. They're great at writing down the issues with the customer. They're great at checking customers out. I think this opens the door, right? Because, and we'll get into it later, Colin's a machine when it comes to building tickets and when it comes to sourcing parts and that's a lot of time, at least in my shops, in our structure. We don't have the techs do it. We have the service advisors build the tickets.
Well, and this is getting to the mechanical components of how Colin can do his job at home too, because there's that customer service relationship. It's a relationship business. We all use that phrase all the time, and it's true. So Colin being one step removed, how is that being addressed in the shop right now? And Colin, does that affect your ability to do anything on the ticket?
No, it doesn't really affect too much, and that's because of the technology we have. Like one thing with Auto Text Me, there's a chat function down there. So if a technician, I'm looking at the DVI and he says, this T connector over here is not there and I can't find it on the schematic and I don't have a good enough picture, I can just open up that chat function. Hey, can you get me a better picture of that? And they'll shoot that right over, and that carries out of having to text them or anything else. I'm able to use that chat function, which helps kind of bridge that gap of any openings because unfortunately not all the techs are going to take the best pictures and have the best write-ups every time.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
What?
So the big, one of the things that we're talking about here is increasing productivity too, because if Colin can sit at home and if he did nothing all day but write up estimates and send it back to somebody in person or was able to text those out and say, hey, look at this, one of the positions that we're working in some of the shops now is like a full-time estimator, somebody that just sits back in a room. Yep. And just writes up estimates and tickets and looks up parts and then says, okay, service advisor, here's this ticket, present it. But because everything we have now, that person doesn't have to be in an office or whatever. They can be at home.
Yeah. Spot on. Now, digital inspections being a component of things too. Colin, is that generally where your job really kicks into gear?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm following it. I see when the technician moves it over and it goes into the estimating function. At that point, I can grab it. And I've also now got a service advisor in each store at both, because I build tickets for both shops. That also allows me to do that for both of them. I have, both operating systems up, both Auto Text Me's up. So I'm able to go between the two of them. And there'll be a service advisor there that'll text me, hey, estimate 68458's ready. At that point, most of the time I've already started it. I'm kind of watching the board. So I'm kind of starting to build it. And then once I know it's confirmed, then I can transfer all the notes and go from there. But yeah, the digital, it's completely digital. There's very little.
Wait 1 second though, because you said something pretty cool. No, and I don't want anyone to miss this, but you're actually receiving it for 2 locations.
Right? Correct. That allows me to build tickets for both shops as needed. And then kind of drawing back a little bit to the productivity, I live about 30 minutes away from each shop. So you're gaining an hour of productivity from me because I'm not having to drive to a shop as well. So that kind of opens up the time that I'm available to be able to build tickets as well. But yeah, being able to build tickets for both shops remotely, it helps.
And I want to piggyback on what Chris said, that whole, this is what we got to get to, right? This productive and efficient level. And this is what we're all trying to get to, right? So Colin doesn't, day to day, and we talk about this all the time, with Auto Text Me and the shops we talk to, right? I mean, part of technology helps you leverage to where you can engage the customer without being interrupted throughout the day. But your service advisors, they sit there, they're getting interrupted by the phone, by the customer in front of them, by the technician coming in and standing behind them until they acknowledge that they're there, by the owner who's yelling and saying, why isn't this ticket, why didn't we sell this? So Colin being remote has absolutely increased his productivity 10 times when it comes to building a ticket, right, Chris? So I think that's a great point, right? Because this is his task that he's focused on. And I saw this Rui Martin. I know he's been putting some things in there. And he said, in order for this to work, you have to have a strong person. Colin's been with us 11 years. Colin knows writing. He's our best ticket writer by far, best estimator that we have. One of the best. But we have another guy, Graham, who's the manager at the other shop, that's really proficient as well. But Colin definitely is one of our top guys for this, for sure.
Well, and not to get too much in the future, because I know we're already talking about a lot and everybody's like, oh my God. I'm working with a couple of shops where we don't answer any inbound phone calls.
Nice.
Interesting.
So if you were to call one of these shops up, the message is something like, hey, thanks for calling Cotton's Auto Repair. We're busy with another customer right now. If you want to text us, you can text this number. If you want to email us, you can email this number. At the end of this message, there will not be an opportunity for you to leave us a message. Please text us or email us. and then that's it. There's no beep. And then people text, they email. We have people on staff that text and email back, and it's huge. But it's like the old days of where we're trying to do like appointment cards, right? Like the dentist office, like you had to get that. And I dare say that you guys have your processes and procedures on point, or else you wouldn't be able to do what you do.
Correct.
And so for all shop owners that want to do this, you've got to get the processes and procedures in place in order to make this work. But, we're at this point, we're retraining our customers, and some of them are going to embrace it and some are going to go kicking and screaming, and you just have to figure it out.
Well, Chris, you've talked about Service Up a few times. We haven't really defined what that is. Service Up, I think, kind of fits into this part of the conversation really neatly, because we are training a different service model for the client side of things. How does Service Up work, and what is it?
So kind of just to give you an idea of where my mind was when I found Service Up like a year ago. I have a daughter. She's 19. She's off at college. I've always had my own repair shop. Mm-hmm. I've always had a great relationship and was able to send her to. But if my 19-year-old could magically get on an app and put in a request, and somebody would schedule a pickup and come pick up her car, take it to a shop, send her a DVI, she could approve it, then get the finished invoice, and it would magically reappear back in her driveway. She would be all in on that because because she's Gen Z. The fewer people she talks to in the day, the better off she is. And so if I'm looking at the future of auto repair and everything, I'm like, well, this is where we're headed. And so how do we get there? So I spent 2 or 3 years talking to people, be like, hey, I have an idea for an app. But I don't know what that entails, anything else. And everybody like basically patted me on the head like I'm a puppy dog and said, Chris, that's a great idea, but it'll never work. And so like a year ago, I ran across Service Up, was introduced, and I told them what my idea was. And they're like, well, we're working on similar things to that, but we have, and let's face it, in a tech space, you start out with this idea. And in the last 12 months, we're like here now, like we've just taken off with all the other stuff we're doing. So, we're building a solution to do things that shop owners struggle with, as far as like customer acquisition, technology, staff, scheduling. How do we schedule and be more productive? Like in our app, you can sign up as one of our customers, and in the app, if you want, you can get a shop code, and you can share that with all your customers, and they can interface you directly with the app. And you can pull it up on the dashboard and then communicate with them again without answering the phone and things like that.
So would that be an employee of the shop, or is this somebody like Colin that's simply a Service Up advisor or something in that?
That would be an employee of the shop that would be handling that part of it. And so we're in the San Francisco Bay Area now. We're in Phoenix. We're getting ready to soft launch Denver, Las Vegas, West LA, Orange County, and by the end of the year, we'll be in 25 different places in the model I'm getting ready to tell you about. So in this other model, our partner shops, people schedule through the app. Our remote service advisor figures out where they're at, figures out which partner shop is the best for them. Then we have our driver go out, pick that car up, deliver it to the shop. We interface with the shop, and then we invoice the customer and take care of all of the customer side of the business. And then when we're done, we deliver that car back to the customer. And we've gone, we've picked up at offices. We had a guy that thought it would be cool to have his car delivered at a party. So we delivered it back to a party with 40 people. And the next thing we know, we've got like 40 people around, and he's talking about how cool it is. And just let's set aside our productivity for a minute, but really we're also helping people be more productive in their lives. We're helping virtual assistants. We're helping soccer moms. We're helping doctors, lawyers. We're, people that work remote like me. Like if I stop doing what I'm doing to go to town and get my oil change, it costs me money. So why not be able to go into the app and schedule service and do the whole thing from here and not have to do that. So we're doing tons of great stuff. And again, like everything we're doing is advancing so fast, it's insane. And I'll shut up for a minute.
No, that's interesting.
It's good stuff.
When I hear about this sort of thing, I'm thinking of Wow, the technology, the equipment that's needed and everything else, is this something that it's hard to get people for? Like, Colin, let's go back to you for a moment. With your role, what do you need to do it successfully? The bare minimums.
Bare minimum is an internet connection, a laptop. All of our software is all web-based. So, I mean, and then earbuds.
Yeah.
That's the basic. Now, having a nice dual screen monitor definitely, speeds up productivity. Working on laptops a little bit more time consuming than the bigger display. But bottom line, all you really need is a laptop, a good internet connection, and earbuds.
Which opens the talent pool up tremendously, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And so here's like a caution though, like say, and we'll ask Colin this, like whenever you transition from going to the office every day to work to going home, I've been doing this for 10 years and that was a huge thing for me. I'm used to getting up, showering, cup of coffee, getting dressed, going to the service counter and interacting with people all day. And I went to the point to where I was at home by myself in my shorts and a t-shirt and not interacting with them. That was the biggest transition of everything. It wasn't the technology. It wasn't any of the rest of it. It was going from I'm in a shop joking with the guys to I'm by myself all day.
Yeah. No, it's a transition. Now, when I started working for Chris Cloutier, now I've been working remote now 4.5 years. This company, Autotext Me, we've been full remote all the time. Now, Chris, was that more by design or by necessity with the software team?
Even before COVID, and everybody made fun of me before COVID and would say, dude, you can never have a remote team. That doesn't work. People won't work. So Craig, back in the early years, I was a developer and I told my bosses all the time, my brain doesn't shut on or start at 9 and shut off at 5, right? So what I would do a lot of times is go home and I would work. I'm somebody who toils at night, especially coding. Everybody codes when you're a coder. A lot of coders actually code at night. It's just the way. I don't know why. Some people like it early in the morning. I liked it in the evening. So I would get very frustrated and say, look, I want to work remote because my brain, once again, turns on and turns off. So I said, whenever I have a software company, I'm going to work remote. And then COVID hit. Now everybody's remote and everybody's like, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'm like, well, so, and I also want to point out a couple of things. One is Chris, Chris is talking about future and I got to make this point. I want to make this point. I want to make it. I'm probably going to make it a couple of times, right? Chris is talking about, people not answering phones at shops anymore. Everybody going through an app, like, whether or not we're going to have people or not, this will definitely happen, right? I mean, Chris is talking about future. It's the way it is. It's kind of like text messaging your customer. 7-8 years ago, when I started Autotext Me, I was rejected by 99% of the shops that I went to. And now you'll read an article and I hear shop owners all the time that say, oh man, I'm innovative. I'm now texting my customers and I'm like, nope, innovation was 9-10 years ago, right? Innovation is when nobody's doing it. You're Trump, you're a new path. Nobody's cut the hedges. The road isn't clear. You're going into trees. You're going into everything else, right? So, I want to make sure that we're talking about uncharted paths, which is cool. Chris is, he's got this remote service. He's got this whole thing. We've had pieces and parts. I know technology has definitely allowed us to get to this point now. Now we as owners have to get past this idea or thought that our people have to be at the front counter. I also want to bring up, the robot that everybody saw at SEMA last, year that could, put on tires and take them off, right? Robotics are going to continue to evolve and grow in our industry, right? And one day you're going to replace your tire tech. One day. So this is innovation, right? So when we talk about innovation is tough. It's gross. It's weird, but it's taking chances, right? And taking those, this ability to take chances on things that may or may not be totally worked out yet, right? Point made, hopefully.
Well, and so I don't even know. Don't get me started on the people that are still doing paper inspections or not doing any inspections.
And there's still people on paper SMSs that are still doing paper tickets. That still exists.
I was in Denver last week and you'd be shocked. I've got it written down, 1 in 5 shops was still writing hand tickets.
Yeah.
And some of them were still using QuickBooks. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's going to be a time where me or Chris or somebody's going to have a repair facility or a repair business. Let's call it a business. Let's don't call it a shop or facility, because that means somebody's going to have to come to you. somebody's going to dial up on the phone. Like this is happening now with Tesla. Like I know this is their job at Tesla. Like somebody calls in and they say, oh, I'm having an issue. I'm having a charging issue. I'm having this issue. The technician gets in, they interface with the car and they're like, oh, well, I see that, they can tell you when you plugged it in, when you pulled it out, and they can tell you all the ways you're screwing up on your charging. And there's going to be a time where that's where we're at. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be here next year or 2 years from now, but at some point, the people that we leave behind in the industry, you're going to have a person that can program a car from 10,000 miles away, can look at it. Yep. But the other thing is you're going to call me, like say Craig calls me and is like, hey, Chris, my Lucid is not working. And I'm like, okay, I look in, I dial in and I'm like, oh, okay. I see exactly what the problem is. It's going to cost $975 to fix that. Here's the invoice. And I'm going to wait here while you enter your payment information. And they're going to put their payment information. And then that person's going to go, okay, I'm interfaced with the car. I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm here. Oh, it's done. You're good to go. Thank you. Is there anything else I can do with you? And that person's going to be sitting, gosh, I hope somewhere in the United States or whatever, but they could be a virtual assistant in Indonesia for all I know. Like there's you could do that now if you wanted to.
Chris, I came across this article and I'm getting on my phone. I knew I should have this ready. And this is my lack of preparedness for this meeting, but I sent this to my team this morning because I was sent by somebody else. And it was an article on The Verge. And it talks about this company is called UVI. I'm going to show you this. Makes AI-powered diagnostic systems. So you can't see.
I'll get the
let's see right there
from our email.
Right there.
Okay.
See that? Mm-hmm. Your car drives past through this thing, this dome thing, and this thing diagnoses your car. It looks at your tire. It looks at all kinds of things using. You just drive through it, man. It's going to reading all your diagnostics, looking at your lights. It's insane, right? This is here. Right. It's just how we adopt it. And of course, let me wrangle us back into going back to the remote service advisor. One of the other things I want to make a comment on was, the inspection's important. The cloud-based systems are important, or VPM to get to your shop management system's important. And then added on, we've started to use Loom. And I got to give Greg Bunch credit for this Transformers Mastermind, because he said this in one. He was like, why aren't we sending our sales presentations to customers? So Colin has also been recording, not just, hey, here's the DVI, but he goes through the DVI and then he says, look, to take care of all this is $1,600. If you want to text us and let us know that it's good to go. And so Colin, I know one particular case, we sent it to a fleet company, right? And they were like, this is great, because the guy he wasn't going to be out on the phone. So he's like, man, this is great. Like, fix it. Right. Colin, what's been kind of some of your experience with that?
That's it. It gives me a chance to still do the sale and present it rather than just building the ticket and sending it off, where you still get a little bit of the personality. And, obviously what I started with was customers that I've already had a relationship with. So it's not kind of a blank, hey, because once again, we do have to train them. So I'm sending to customers I know, and then we were asking for their feedback. And that's what their feedback was this was nice. I didn't have to stop what I was doing to get on the phone. I was able to pull that email up when I had a chance, watch the 1.5, 2-minute video, make a quick call or text into James or Cliff. And next thing you know, the job's going and it's done the next day.
And how long did it take you to figure out Loom? It was minutes, right? It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it was. Once again, it was Chris's suggestion. Chris like, hey, what do you think about this? And it was free to try. So we said, let's try it. Made a couple videos. It was. I mean, click here. Little thing pops up, shows your face. Okay, here's the DVI. Click record, and just start going through it. Now, obviously, you have to be comfortable talking, in front of, I guess, the webcam or what have you. But I mean, it was really easy. It's very simplistic. And then once we saw the benefit of it, we signed up for a year, and now we're sending them off like crazy. And once we condition the customers and they're retrained, they'll start really adopting it. But it's going to be a slow process, like any kind of change, where you have to kind of train your customers, just like we did with text messages, But now, if we don't text the customer, they're like, "What? Why didn't you text me? What did you call me for?" So
right. Well, and so I've got shops that we try to put it in all of them, but I've got shops that if you have customer drops their keys off in the key drop, and the service advisor gets in, does a quick video, say, hey, my name's Chris. I'm going to be advising you today. I just want to drop you a quick video, tell you we've got your car in, the ticket's ready, and it's going to go over to the technician and hit send. Boom. You can also, on a lot of that stuff, you can track and see when the person watches it, which is awesome because you know if they're paying attention or not. Mm-hmm. And then within 10 or 15 minutes, the technician goes, he's on his phone and he's got it turned around and says like, hey, my name's Craig. I'm going to be the technician working on your vehicle today. I understand the immediate concern is X. We're also going to do a great inspection for you. And as soon as I get that done, I'm going to send it back over to Colin and then he'll follow up. Boom, send it out. And so I challenge you, everything we do is about the relationship, and you can build the relationship better doing it this than you can in person.
Love it. Because it's their time when they can consume it, Chris, versus your time. I agree. Yep. Amen, brother. You're preaching. Preach.
I got like my hair standing up. I don't even know.
Man, I love your passion. It's like, this is me. This is why you got to be named Chris, but y'all didn't want to change your name at the beginning.
Let's look at it another way too, because we're thinking about the client here in this case. But let's also go back to thinking about our advisors again too. So technically, Colin, this might be a good question for you because you could build those videos like a developer of software in the evenings. Have you ever done this? Is this something that is taboo in your book?
No, not taboo. Anything's available. Yeah, we could definitely work in evening hours to build tickets that weren't done. But usually at our shop, the way it comes in, we've got I don't want to say streamlined process, but to where they come in and by the time the car's there, it's diagnosed, it's getting built pretty much instantaneous, quickly right away to get that turnaround going. Because we turn, I don't know, Chris could give you the numbers, however many cars a day.
I know he can.
to pause that and put in the evenings, I mean, it's definitely a possibility, but I don't think we have the volume right now where that's an issue.
And we're able to get it done in our shop. The intake comes in the morning, Craig, and people know we're a busy shop. Both shops are busy. They know you get in the morning, you're going to drop off your car for a diag. And then, so there's this window that, me and Colin have kind of found where the tickets need to be written by the end so the intake happens at the beginning. You might have some stragglers coming in, and then anything comes in after a certain time, the production happens, right? And that's when guys are working on cars. That's when, all the things, and so getting those tickets built and getting those things sold is super important. So in the evenings, I'm not saying to roll that out because, my philosophy, and I'm going to say this, and we don't have any, regulation on cursing, but my whole philosophy in my businesses and this for the auto repair shops and the software company, it's get shit done. Right? If shit needs to get done, get it done. Like, that's your job. Don't wait until somebody get it done. Right? That's what we're paid to do. Right? So, but most of what we can do now is during the hours that, we're finding, Colin being that done. So
when
we don't
lay the groundwork for this conversation, Elon Musk was in the news again, making headlines with bringing people back to the office, because you can't just develop things that are going to change the world by phoning things in. And I thought that sounded like antiquated technology first and foremost. But here we are. We're finally at the point in this industry where the technology is there for us to get out of the office. And his critique seemed to be that a lack of trust that was going in. And as Rui's saying in chat, as we mentioned earlier, trust is a big component for remote work to be successful, but get shit done topic is exactly that. And what I've realized personally, 4.5 years working remotely, my workday, I have to make a conscious effort to stop doing things, because if there's stuff to be done, okay, it's easier to spend a few more minutes. And from every study I've looked at, that's a norm for any remote worker. And for service advisors, I guess my question would be, and I think a fear for some of them would be, is it easy enough to turn off and be done with your day? And what I'm hearing from you, Colin, is that due to the way that the shop is currently designed, that's not a problem.
No, it's not. That's something I've mentally built up myself being in this industry, is I'm able to turn it off when we close our doors. Because, for instance, like my wife, she doesn't 24/7. Her phone goes off. She's always working. Chris Cloutier, nonstop. The dude works 25 hours out of a 24-hour day. And me, I shut it off. I'm able to shut it off. But once again, I have no problem working the evening if that comes up. Once kids are in bed, hey, I sit down for an evening or for an hour, build a bunch of tickets, send off videos. That's not out of the realm of needed at all in the future, but I do have the mental capacity. I'm able to shut it off very easily.
Well, yeah, cool. I mean, say that was an issue. Like, you were so busy that one service advisor couldn't get it all done, or two or whatever, and you couldn't get it done. Well, guess what? You can hire a service advisor remote, or an estimator, like we've been talking about, in a different time zone. Yes. Maybe they work from, so say you're on the East Coast and you hire somebody in California to write tickets for you. 8 hours a day in the afternoon and evening. And then the other people come in first thing in the morning. They're just like, boom, they're just like sending them out.
And I want to Chris's point, and he said this earlier, and I wanted to comment on this. So I own a software company, I own auto repair shops, and this is a valid point that Chris made. Look, when he puts out an ad for a remote service advisor, his talent pool just expanded to the US. So when it comes to a software company, Craig, I mean, we have people working in 8 different states because everybody's remote. When it comes to an auto repair shop, unfortunately, our talent pool is within that 3 to 5 to 10 miles, depending on how rural.
Because that commute is there too. You can't commute
Correct.
an hour and a half to the shop and have a happy life.
So I think Chris's point of this also opens up a possibility for you to have somebody, if you're East Coast, to hire somebody West Coast who you can trust, who has experience. Now, there's ways to know if people are getting shit done, right? If there's, if we run 20 cars average per day per shop, right? And 35 of those tickets are built by Colin because some of the oil changes and quick things are done, right? You can keep track of that, right? And the other thing we've also found is consistency of write-up and expectations. So now that Colin's managing the inspections, and Colin's very good at needing information, he's going back and saying, hey, here's good inspections, here's not so good inspections. How do we get these all to the same so I can present, and when I am presenting, it's more consistent to the customer across both shops and other technicians, right? Which I think is another important point of this, because now he's the one kind of central place that's seeing all this information.
And that is happening. We are seeing more consistency in the DVIs, because when you have 2 different shops, you still have the same procedures, but slightly different strategies, because the master tech over here is wanting this. So I'm able to kind of get that consistency done, and then also coach the guys up of, hey guys, I'm seeing this with here. Let's go ahead and do this. And next thing you know, next week around, now they're a lot more similar. Plus, I'm able to change the verbiage of, but once again, it's more consistent product being delivered.
Well, sure. and the key is like, this takes us back to processes and procedures, right? So if you're a shop owner and you don't like holding people accountable that are actually physically in the shop, then guess what? It's just as easy to hold remote workers accountable as it is people in the shop. But you have to be in that mindset, and you have to do it. You have to look and see what they're doing, actively mentor and coach them, and be like, hey, tell me what your struggles are. How can we make it better? And keep moving forward. But if you can't hold the people accountable in your shop, then that's a whole different topic. But,
Agreed. And I agree that process, and Craig, you kind of skipped over that. What tools do you need? Most of us are digital. A lot of shops that are probably watching this are digital, but that process is super important, right? And knowing when things happen at any given point in time. Once again, the whole point of AutoText.me, the creation of that was so everybody knew in the workflow what was happening, right? That was, so when I first came into auto repair, it's a dumpster fire, right? It's keys and paper flying everywhere and people running in and out. And I said, man, there's got to be a better way to manage. And the whole point was to stay on that workflow so everybody's collaborative, everybody understands where things are at. So the certain things get done at the proper times.
So it's almost like I'm getting this image of service advisors as something of a remote assistant in a way, almost like a gig job. And one of the things, if anyone's ever thought of having a remote assistant or anything, one of the things you have to be able to lay down for an assistant is an exact process. You can't take someone and teach them what you need them to do 15 different times on a complex procedure. It has to be very cut and dried and very, very clear. I'm wondering if this is where this industry could go from here. Service advisors taking remote gigs, working on a beach from anywhere for multiple different shops. Seeing a brave new future there.
Well, so one of the things that we've done at Service Up is, like, we already have remote service advisors on staff. We've got them across the country.
Are they regional in their clients, or could the clients be from anywhere?
The clients can be from anywhere. So we've got advisors in North Carolina, Texas, Arizona, and then West Coast, and they overlap and help each other out. But the other thing is we have some people that want to work on the weekends. So we have weekend remote service advisors. We have people that want to work the North Carolina guy. He wants to work from 10 to 6. So he that's his hours, and then we go through. But one of the things that we can provide is we can provide a great remote service advisor staff to you and integrate with your stack. And then plus the technology we have. So say a shop owner was like the only shop owner or the only person in their business, they were smaller and they wanted to take a week vacation. How cool would it be to call us up and have us write tickets for you remotely for a week and still have all your technicians there and working?
We had a question come in too on this,
That's
Chris.
awesome. That's awesome.
Bradford asks, how are you recording phone calls? This goes to accountability for that individual.
Yeah. So our phone system, like everything comes in, but a lot of stuff comes in digitally. So you can get a text record, you can get an email record, and then all of our incoming and outgoing phone calls are recorded. But I will tell you, we've been really, really lucky in the people that we've hired, mainly because we've been able to get like 100 rock stars of, looking for the job. But our average repair order is over $900. So if you're like $500, and people beat me up all the time, like, well, how do I know you're any better? How do I know this? Well, let's look at GP and average repair order. Like, so the other thing is where we're different than, say, Repair Pal is we don't take 15% of your ticket. We take what we make, we take what you give us, and then we charge the difference to the customer, and that's how we make our money. Now, if you called us up and said, Chris, I'm going to Jamaica for a week and I need somebody to do that, then we'll take 5 to 7% of the ticket, because in that instance, we're doing the service advising for you in lieu of you having to pay somebody else.
Interesting. Now, where would a shop, if they're interested in Service Up, have to go in order to participate with the program?
You can go to serviceup.com and sign up to be a partner shop. You can email me, Chris, at serviceup.com. I try to separate all my coaching business from the Service Up side of it. That way,
through separate entities, right?
Through a separate entity, yeah. And send me an email. Say, Chris, I want to talk to somebody else about this. I want to learn more. Again, like I said, we're in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're in Phoenix. We're soft launching Denver. We're going to be in 25 cities by the end of the year. And I'm telling you now, get signed up now, learn about it now, because when we hit your city, you're going to want to be the first people on there. And you talked about the gig workers a little bit, and some people may not understand, but we have partnerships with very big gig companies, and we can bring those customers to your door without you paying a penny for it. Like you're not paying us for that, for the advertising. We have what's called work perk programs, where we go to the work or the remote office or their house and bring it in. And we've got a lot of other stuff that's very interesting that we're working on. How cool would it be if you could not only get work from rideshare drivers, but what if in the rideshare app, all of their riders could click on it and schedule service for their own cars, and we could bring those to you. And so those are some things that we can do, because we just closed our Series A. We've got money. We're doing things that most independent small shops can't do. They can't have somebody spend 6 to 8 months developing that relationship. So anyway, again, I'll shut up.
No, I think that's a fascinating.
Very neat. Very neat.
Very, very neat. Very neat. Now let's talk more about the clients that we're dealing with remotely. We touched on it briefly earlier. Colin, you mentioned very specifically that certain types of clients, but what types of characteristics, if you're engaging someone remote, you're using those Loom videos, what sort of characteristics are you specifically looking for? Just a familiar face, younger audience?
No, we're still trying to gather that. I mean, originally the first couple of times were customers that I already had a relationship with that knew me personally. So, it was not an issue. Now it's just a little bit more broadband. Now if they, like, for instance, my Wiley shop today wrote up a ticket on an '02 Lexus. It was, once I priced everything out, it was like $12,000. I'm not going to make a video for that and go through a laundry list of the 800 little things that we see on there and tell them it's going to be 12, because it's not going to be beneficial. It's going to be an overload.
Yeah.
So you just it's kind of a judgment call. You find ones that, hey, here's 2 or 3 car that came with 2 or 3 key items. Here's a good one. You don't want to overwhelm them with a huge ticket where, the technician wrote up everything in the world. That's kind of what I've been going at now lately. But it started at people I knew, and now it's transitioned to tickets that seem to be not overwhelming, but here's what they brought it in for. Here's a couple of things we noticed. Here you go.
You're still having that conversation with people in most cases, though, is what I'm hearing.
It's a one-sided conversation.
Oh, but with the videos, of course
yes,
it is.
at the counter, they are
Correct.
still have, yes.
Yes, at the counter there.
Interesting. So I'd be curious to hear a little bit more about how we don't lose things in translation from that drop-off point to you. Is that just something your team's really good at, taking those notes and making sure you have all those details? we talk consultative advising all the time, where we're listening to that relational element of it. And Service Up Advisor would have to be able to do the same thing, understanding how a vehicle is being used, understanding what's important. Does that person have kids? All those sort of things. Are we collecting those details? Is that something your CSR is trained at?
We're definitely collecting a lot of the details. I don't know if it'd go to extensive as like you're saying of, do you take it for the kids, this and that, but we know what they brought it in for. We have a general idea because of the area we're in of what the car is being used for the most part. So it's not blind, but we do take very good notes at check-in. It's not just I hear a noise. Okay, heard a noise.
Right.
No, it's I hear a noise from the front left when turning at low speeds, when I'm dropping my kid off at school, stuff like that. So we do take very concrete notes up front at check-in. And then I guess on the backside, the guys, if they have a question, well, what did exactly did Colin say when he presented it? They can go back and watch that video as well and make sure the verbiage was correct. Because, as you guys know, you always build a little bit of an out. You got to replace and retest, so you want to make sure that original sale, because sometimes you don't want pass off have between that original sale. You can go back and look at the actual verbiage and go, okay, this is what he said. Okay, so yeah, when Colin presented that video to you, he mentioned this. Now we replaced this. Now we found that this. So it's a continuation and not necessarily drop anything off. I don't want to say pass off, but it still flows, if that makes sense.
No,
without being too confusing and cloudy there.
No. Now, what other measures of success are we actually looking at on this? I know Chris watches the numbers very closely across the board. I imagine this is becoming a new metric or will become a new metric. Are we looking for a certain ARO? Are we looking to just see a level of satisfaction with the clients, reviews? What areas would you guys look at?
Man, that's great, Craig. And so we've been doing this for a couple months now. And what I like to do is sometimes ready, fire, aim, throw something out there, figure out what it is, and then figure out how to, look at to measure it. So, and I'll tell you this, and for everybody listen, I am a numbers guy. I like budgets. I like forecasts. I know about P&L. I know balance sheet, but numbers now are not true just because of the way that the world has gone. It's very hard to, AROs are through the roof right now. Customers are still fixing everything right now because there's no alternative. So there will be a measure of, but it's very, things are in flux still because of the state of affairs when it comes to shops right now. That's the best way I can put it. I can't tell you we're going to raise our AO because our AO is through the roof right now. It's the highest it's ever been. Yeah. Because once again, that person with the $3,000 car is fixing the $3,000 worth of work. And we're still seeing that in Texas. We just hit 100-degree plus weather starting a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. It hasn't stopped, which means that we've been blindingly busy. So right now, the only thing is Colin building tickets. How many is he building? Is he getting done? Getting these tickets out. And it's funny because I talked to the other side of the shop, and one of the problems that they're having is Colin's sometimes delivering the information too quickly back to them. Because now if we have 7 bays, if 7 cars get written up, it goes to Colin. Colin's able to chew them up, spit them out. And now you're sending out text messages to 7 customers saying, hey, give us a call. Man, they don't ever call like one at a time. It's 7 people calling at the same time, trying to, so you're managing that as well. So that's why we're trying the video stuff to see if we can offload some of that, that interaction. So the service advisor at the counter doesn't have to necessarily, interact with that because it can be painful.
Oh, that's interesting insight because obviously there's processes in place to make this successful, but it's also going to be informing new processes to make it more and more successful.
And I'll tell you, Craig, one thing that I have found that I'm able to help facilitate most shops in that anybody that's ever written service for can understand is I deal with the aftermarket warranty company. Because I can sit here at home for 30 or 40 minutes on hold, still build other tickets while I'm waiting for these guys to get on the phone and not take the resources of the guys in the shop because that's a huge time suck, as we all know.
Right.
So that helps hugely to take that off the guy's shoulders there at the shop.
Fascinating.
No, I think that's awesome. I wanted to go back and say, like, how do you measure success? I think in the end, the big thing is are the customers happy and are they doing it? Are they kicking back against it? And what we found is the customers are happy. They're fine. We got rid of, emailing for texting because, we could see when they looked at the text, we know that their response rates are quicker. And we are communicating regardless of how long you've been in the business and what you think, we are communicating with customers the way they want to be communicated with. And to jump back for just a second, it's like the wild, wild west for repair, right? Like I could go into Denver and probably start 50 new shops right now, and it would make a dent in most people's, because there's so much, people are 2, 3, 4 weeks out, and it's just insane. But what I think is going to happen, and if anybody's followed me, they know I've been talking about this for 6, 8 months. I thought we were going to have a recession next year about October. Looks like it's going to hit a year early. What I know about the industry, being in it for 30 years, is as gas prices go up, car count goes down. That hasn't happened yet, which is interesting. But the other thing is I think as an industry, we're going to have to make sure that we have alternative forms of payment, because we're going to hit a credit crunch, and people are not going to be able to pay for their repairs. And that's when we're going to suffer as an industry.
Because people will still be repairing because new vehicles are out of the equation.
Yeah. 72% of all vehicles sold last year were used vehicles. Think about that for a minute.
You can't buy new ones.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go all buy electric cars. Let's not get political on this. I didn't mean to say that.
No, we're good.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that'll solve the problem. Yeah.
Right.
No, we know that. And everybody in the audience is now going, oh my God, did he say that? Right. Because there's the reality versus the,
Well, let's answer a question here from one of the audience. They asked about, what is the range of pay for a remote service advisor, and what background of folks have you seen that are the best at this role if you can't find an experienced advisor?
So I'll take it first, and then Chris has a lot more experience with this. So we've talked, me and Colin have talked about this, and so we've talked about reduction in hours, but he's still getting the same hourly rate, because we very much feel that he's worth. It's the knowledge that we're paying him for. It's all. So other than a reduction in hours in August, and just to let y'all know, in August is when, he wants this time in the mornings and the afternoon. So we're going to kind of condense this time to get these things done during this time, which shouldn't be a problem, right? So didn't, and what is he paying? We pay our service advisors anywhere from starting $15 an hour, up to, $30+ an hour at Golden Rule is where we're at. So,
which one thing Chris does too is we're not commission, we're straight salary.
Straight salary, and then at the end of the year we pay a bonus based off of net profit, and that way everybody's watching expenses. A lot of people do it off of gross profit. We do it off of net, but it keeps everybody honest from that new equipment. Whatever, you can amortize that or depreciate over time, but that's just the way we do it. Yes, so we still encourage a group think when it comes to that. I wouldn't put a $15 an hour guy at home working remote right now. I would not do that. So I once again, I think this is going to take, from what I have, Colin's marked. Chris said this at the beginning, he's been with us for 11 years. Colin's very much invested in it. When he came to me, he said, Chris, I could leave, I can go get a part-time job. And I said, let's give this a try. Right. And once again, it's awesome. Right. I've known other shops that have done this. I've known other industries, or other MSOs that have done this and done it very well.
Well, so the good thing is we're also able to work with a service advisor's time frame. Like if you want to work 3 12-hour days, or in 1 4-hour day, if you want to work 4 10s. Right now, we're starting out about $70,000 a year for about 40 hours a week, and depending on the hours and whatever. So, it just depends. But the good thing, or the kind of thing the thing that I chuckle at, right, is when I do this, there's an insanely proportionate amount of people with dealer experience versus independent doing this. So we're able to pull a lot of people from dealerships, away from dealerships, into the independent world, or into what we're doing to help independents out. And let's be honest, a lot of those people are trained really, really well. They're good with technology, and they're used to processes and procedures. So they fit into our system really, really well. And we've done some great things with them.
Nice. Well, guys, we're nearing our time limit here for today. This has been great. I love how you guys are building off each other and carrying the conversation forward. I think this is a conversation a lot of people will be eager to have. Chris Cotton, I hope you get some feedback with Service Up as well. Would you like to make any closing remarks, and then we'll go around? Start with you, Chris Cotton.
The first thing I would do is challenge you. Whatever you think you know about the auto repair industry, it's changed in the last 18 months. And whatever we're going to do in the next 18 to 2 months or 18 months to 24 months, you can either jump on the train and ride with us, or you can be stuck doing paper inspections like everybody else. And so it's up to you. Don't fight it. Just, learn, get over your mindset and move on. I am going to be in Phoenix this weekend at the Sunrise Automotive event. I'm teaching a class. If any of you out there from Phoenix, I'd love to see you. If you're coming to that event and not going to the class, then catch me at the vendor time or anything else. And again, just be open.
Wonderful. Colin?
No, it's been a lot of fun. This is my first webinar with you guys, so it's been a lot of fun. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Like I said, that Chris came up with this concept of, hey, let's try this and see what we can do. Because once again, I didn't want to leave something that I've helped build from the ground up. Chris didn't want to lose me as a resource, and not to mention that we've been great friends for 20 years as well. But it was an opportunity, and I'm very grateful that him and Pat have allowed me to do this, which keeps me from having to go work part-time down the street somewhere and doing something I don't want to do that I'm not good at. So yeah, just really grateful. It's been a lot of fun.
One more question for you, Colin.
Sure.
Would this, even as a part-time thing, be something you recommend to other advisors?
Absolutely. If your situation dictates, for sure. Like I said, with my situation, it was one of those things where my hand was forced. So yeah, it's not that I dislike being in the shop. I enjoy being in the shop with the guys doing that, but yeah, this is definitely a great opportunity to be able to do what I'm very, very good at, be able to help the company as well, and still, continue to be profitable for everybody.
Nice. I'd like to see the people with your skills stay in the industry. So that's wonderful. Thank you, Colin. Great job.
Thank you.
Chris Cloutier?
Yeah. So failure is not final, right? That's one of the quotes I love in right, nor is it fatal. So to piggyback on what Chris said, right? We have to attempt to try these new things and find these new things out and keep an open mind to what the future will bring. Yes, having people work remote is scary, 100%, but it's typically scary because it's unknown. We think people aren't going to do their job, but nobody ever wakes up in the morning. No employee ever wakes up in the morning saying, I'm going to suck today. Every employee wants to deliver. They want to do well, right? So I agree, keeping that open mind, keeping to look at future, what's on the horizon, what are things that are possible. I will go to DBI and texting, right? This is why that you want to be in technology. Because without it, you can't do this. You can't leverage these things if you're not willing to move forward with the tools that are already out there. You won't even have this opportunity. And this is one of those reasons why you need to continue to push forward into technology, right? Because it allows a lot of different opportunities. It allows a lot of different things to open up. Cotton's, when he talked about having shops that don't even answer the phone, that's amazing, right? They're texting and all. But one day, what is it going to look like, right? All we can do is look to Star Wars and all the futuristic movies, and that's probably what we're going to be living in pure honesty. So,
correction, Star Wars was a long time ago.
Sorry, it was a long time. So in a galaxy far, far away.
Yes, right.
Yeah. I appreciate Craig you putting this on. Craig, just let everybody know he's been a trainer with AutoTextMe. He is the VP of training for AutoTextMe. He's a wonderful person. He's very smart. And he shops out there and need help. Want to have this conversation with Craig. He did not do an intro. So I'll do one for you, Craig.
Thank you.
And just want to thank Chris Cotton and Colin as well for you guys being on here.
Chris Cotton, Colin, I
thanks for having
me. Time out of your busy days. And folks, yes, I've been remote 4.5 years after working 20 years in a shop. If you need to know what it's like to transition to remote life, there are some other challenges that do come with it. Always happy to talk about the experience. And frankly, I just look forward to seeing people starting to post those job ads on Indeed saying remote work and attracting talent from all over the country, because I know that that's becoming a possibility. I hope you all keep your minds open to it. Thank you for joining us today. This webinar will be posted on YouTube for further consumption. We'll put links in the description here so you can learn more about Service Up, learn more about Loom and some of the great things that we've been talking about. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.